My name's Teresa. I'm the owner and artisan at for Dixie Belle Paint Company. I come live with you guys every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. do some fun painting tutorials. This morning I'm going to be, as requested, going over waxing and shadowing again and how I seal my pieces of furniture when they are waxed and stained. So hopefully that will be an interesting tutorial for you. If you have any questions that are paint related to Dixie Belle, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Drop them below in the comment section. As you guys are popping on, say hello and let me know where you're watching from. All of the products that I can use today, I am using the Dixie Belle website. If you go to the Dixie Belle website and you go up to the left-hand corner, you type in your zip code, it'll say find a retailer, and you'll be able to find all of your local retailers in your area. You'll be able to find all the products that I'll be using and then some. All of our retailers are very knowledgeable in our product line. They often have a lot of classes that you can join for like Girls Night Out or just some fun kid classes or whatever they may be. They may even have some kits that you could take home with little smaller stuff. So just all of the fun things. Good morning, Patty. How are you this morning? So yeah, let's get to it. So what I'm going to be showing you guys today, because we're going to be recreating that look again. A bunch of people reach out to me and ask if I could go in more depth about the wax. So we're going to be doing that. And this piece has not been sealed. The other piece was sealed. So that's going to be the difference. So I can show you what it looks like from, if you saw the last video, if you didn't, you can go back and rewatch that. But this will be wax on an unsealed piece of furniture. I am working on this entire set, so it's what I have to offer you right now. And then I have a vanity that's over there on. I'm still waiting for confirmation on the color palette for that piece. So I was planning on working on that today, but I have to wait for her before I can make a decision on color because it's not my piece. So next week we'll be working on the vanity and I'll be showing you that. So this week we're just going to be working on wax. All things wax. So hopefully that will be an interesting feature for you guys. So, all right, let's get to it. Rags here, just because it's something that I utilize. You can get this on the Dixie Belle website. They're just little cut up pieces of t-shirt. I utilize that in every single thing I do. When I am working with wax, I do like to wear gloves on my hands because I touch everything. So we'll be using the Best Dang Wax and Clear, and I'm going to show you how I seal the top of this. A lot of the times I will use gator hide. But on the other piece and on this piece, I will be using clear Best Dang wax. And what I use for that are these pack. I use these things for everything. I use them to stain wax. You can pretty much use them for anything. Big Mama's butter in the inside of the drawers. If you would like to do that, you can use that as well. I will be showing you how I distress. And the only thing that is not going to be on the Dixie Belle website is this cheap old sanding block that I can't let go of and a piece of sandpaper from that I've used with my Festool. So we're going to show you how to do that and how I get light distressed, not real heavy. Okay. And we'll also be using the grunge gray, which we used on the other piece of furniture. So it's the Best Dang Wax and grunge gray. And I have my artisan brush that comes in a 4-pack of artisan brushes. This one just happens to be the angled one. And be using my Dixie Belle brush, which is my favorite brush for blending wax. And I also use my rag too. So it just depends on what it is that I'll be doing and how I'll be doing it. I'll take a sip of my water because I've been talking a lot. So talk amongst yourselves. Tell me, how's the weather? How are the things? What projects are you guys working on? Anybody working on anything fun right now? I'd love to know. All right. Goodness, these things are so good. I'm a sucker for some water. That's just a little bit hinted. All right. Now, I feel like you guys can see, but if you can't, I feel like there's a shadow. Let's move you this way, and maybe that shadow won't cast. All right, let's see. Okay. This way. Bring you down and in. Hello. May not be able to see me anymore, but at least you'll be able to see what we're doing. So we're going to do the detail work on this. I painted this piece with Bonding Boss, which is a primer that has priming capabilities, and it also has like slick sticks, so it's like sticks to it too. So this is a slick surface, so it needed something to grab the paint. So that's why I decided to use the primer. So I put the primer on it with 2 coats of paint. Liberally. It doesn't have to be perfect because I'll be adding wax and distressing it, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And the reason why I decided to distress this is because I painted the larger dresser and there was some like little spots and discrepancies that I didn't feel like fixing. And so the easiest way around that is just to go ahead and just distress it. So that's my little secret. to that. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna grab our grunge gray, all right, and we're gonna grab our brush, we're gonna dip into this, and yes, you guys are not seeing double. We did do this before, but I had a lot of requests on how to more in-depth describe how I do this. So this is, again, this is not sealed paint. When we just demonstrated this last time, it was on sealed paint, okay? So I'm gonna have about that much paint, or excuse me, not paint, that much wax in my brush, just a liberal amount, okay? The difference between having something that is sealed and unsealed is when you have a sealed piece of furniture, your wax is going to come off a lot easier than a piece of furniture that is not. Because your chalk paint is very porous, it's going to suck in that wax and it's going to be harder to remove it. So basically, when you're doing this technique, you just want to make sure that it's going to get more of a, it's going to show up a lot better. And not only that, you just have to be careful where you put it because it is easy to get off. You just have to use clear wax to remove it because wax removes wax, but you just have to be really careful with it. All right, so let's go. You guys, super, super close. Bring you down. This is the product that we're using. I'll leave that right there for you guys. And we're going to heavily get in these little areas. And I'm taking my angled brush and make sure that I am applying that wax in those grooves. So you want to make sure, because if I just put it on top, it's not going to get in there, and then I'm just going to wipe the wax right off. So you want to make sure that you kind of like stipple it in there, pounce, whatever you want to call it, smush it, however you want. You just want to make sure that that's in there really, really well. I'm going to dip back in, and again, I am dipping in. There's my little hole in the middle. And then we're going to do the same thing right here. We want to make sure we get in all these little crevices. And I'm going to just do a little shadow on the outside. So we're just going to all right, and we're just going to pull out just a little bit with that wax. So it has that little casted shadow on the edge. We're dipping in again, and we're smearing that down. Just so it has a little bit of a shadow. I can't really see. I'm hoping it's going in the right way. Okay. And then I'm gonna pull it down here and in that little crevice right there. Okay? Now, I'm going to take my rag. And as we're buffing it off, it stays on any sunk in. All those grooves is where it's going to stay, and I'm wiping it off the edges. I'm gonna take my rag again and fold it. And I'm just gonna, you could do this, or you could take your brush and blend it out. And then either way, it doesn't matter. If you don't have this brush, you don't have to have it. The reason why I like this brush is it'll hold that wax. And then I can kind of just fan that out a little bit. And as you can see, whatever I'm offloading that wax to age this piece just a little bit. So here's this one in comparison to that one, okay? So that's how we're doing that. And now we're gonna come in on this drawer right here. All right. And what I like to do in the drawers is we're just going to dip in. I'm not going to go as heavy as I did before. So you just want to make sure, and then you're going to want to get in here really well. Take this brush and we're going to just trace the line that's already here. The angle brush is perfect for that because you can really get in there. I always go a little heavier on this top part because this is where the shadow would naturally cast. And then on these corners, I just kind of like to do this where I just like fan it out just a little bit, okay? So we're fanning out that wax ever so slightly. All right. You're going to take your brush and you're just going to kind of, like you would erase, like how you have a pencil eraser, and you can even grab it like this. You can use a French tip as well. I just like a Belle brush, because then once I get it, I can use the extra and pull it down. See how it gives it that really soft shadow? So it's going from this to looking like this. So we're just gonna take that and we're just gonna use it like an eraser. Okay? And then we're gonna do circles in the corner to soften that. And then it's nice and soft. And you can go up and down over here, however you want it to fan that out. So I'm gonna back up and I'm gonna show you the difference. Now this is on unsealed furniture. I prefer to use wax on unsealed furniture because I feel that it gives it a better blend. So this is the difference. I'm gonna bring you in. So here's the unsealed side, or excuse me, the undone side versus the done side. And so you can just see it's very soft, okay? Now what are we doing up here, right? Because we need to fix that. So now I'm gonna take my brush, I'm just gonna dab it in here ever so lightly. I'm gonna offload that because I don't wanna add all that wax. We're gonna offload it so your rag looks like that. And make sure you guys can see, we're just grunging it up. All right, because you can't have it grungy here and not up on the top. We're also going to be distressing this, so it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to be marking up some of the edges. So now that this is all not done, right? So we have some of that extra wax on our brush. Again, you can just dip in, offload, you can add more. This is the part that's tricky because this piece is not sealed. Adding more is way easier than removing when you put too much on. And it's on rolly wheels, so I have to be careful. Just lock it under there with my foot. Okay? We're gonna come up on this top edge. I can show you here how I do that. We're gonna grab this. All right, or offload that. It was a little too much. And we just want it to look a little weathered. And you have to continue that everywhere. Wherever there's an edge, you have to make sure that you do that when you are doing your wax. Because if I leave one clean edge, it looks silly because the whole entire piece of furniture has been aged and then there's like one spot that's not. It's noticeable. All right, so here's this. We're just gonna kind of go up and down just a little bit, back and forth, however you may be it. So that's the look that we're going for. Now let's move on to the other corner of that drawer. If you guys have any questions, pop them in the comment section. I'd be happy to answer them. All right, we're gonna come right here. We're gonna take this brush because it's angled and we're just gonna come down on both sides and I'm gonna offload just a little bit, okay? And then we're gonna do that line again. The reason why I like that angled brush is because it fits right in that little crevice right there. All right, and just like that, it adds a little bit of dimension. You could leave it as is, or you could blend it out. I prefer the blended out look. It is completely up to you. Now, in the middle here, I'm not gonna go as heavy as I would on the edges. Again, we're gonna come up here. And then we're gonna come down. You can tell when your brush needs more, okay? Aw, thank you, Patty. You're so sweet. I really feel like I'm not. You just have to be really careful with wax. I feel like. I think that's what scared me. It was one of those things that I was afraid to use And I was like, this is ridiculous. I know how to do this with paint. So I figured if I could do this with paint, I definitely could do this with wax. Again, I'm just pulling that up out of the corners. So I have something to blend. And then we're just gonna come up and down right here. So this is the groundwork, okay? Now we're going to take our Belle brush and we're just smoking it out. For those that know how to blend paint, it's the same thing. You're just smoking it out. But instead of paint, it's wax, and it's very subtle. And for some reason, I just really love this look on the raw paint. I get the effect that I want a lot easier. It's buildable. And then you just seal it, and then ta-da, you're done. Okay? Some people have a hard time with the wax. They say that when they seal over top of it, it pulls some of it back when it's already sealed. And that is true, that happens. So you just have to make sure that you add enough wax. All right. Again, I literally am just scrubbing. Okay? And you want it to fade in. You want the middle just to be like, oh, hey, there's wax on the corners and not in the middle. So we're just like a little ombre, right? We're ombreing it in, I guess you would say. So there's that, okay? Now we want the side to match, dip, dip. Okay, that's a lot. Offload it because you don't want the big blobby blob of wax. There's still a good bit on there. As you can see right here. Pulling down, and then up here, I mean, there's no wrong way to do it. We're just scrubbing what's on there extra, okay? All right, now that I have showed you that, I don't need to show you that 100 more times because we've done that plenty. So we're just gonna throw some. Scratch that, that's fine. Now that we have our wax, I'm gonna put this away. If anybody has any questions, oh wait, I did this side too. Okay. All right, doop, doop, doop. Offload. Any questions? Drop it now before I do the next thing. I'll do that later. We're gonna basically show you what's next. Okay, so now I am going to close that nice and tight. Make sure your wax is closed good too, okay? I'm going to take this brush that we were using and I'm gonna wipe off any of that extra wax that's on here. I only use this brush for wax. You can clean it with your scrubby soap if you want to. I will when it gets really full, but I'm not done with this project, so for right now, I am just going to offload as much of that as I can. And then it's pretty clean. Clean enough for me. So these two brushes, I have nothing to set this on. All right, here. I'm gonna put this stuff inside the drawer. And extra rags. All right, and we're gonna distress, and then I'm gonna show you how to wax over it, okay? To bring out that color. Before I do that, I'm gonna take another sip of water. So please hold. Okay. All right, get sturdy. All right, for distressing. You can do a heavy distress. I'm not a big fan of that, just because it's more work for me. I don't want to do it. That's really the only reason. Piece of sandpaper. I never use anything new. This is an old sanding block. It's been very loved. Lots of stuff all over it. You can use an old piece of sandpaper or you can just use an old sanding block. It just depends on how distressed you want this piece of furniture to look. Okay, so you can very lightly, and again, I'm gonna remove any wax that's on here, obviously. We'll fix that in a second, I'll show you. and you're just that easily, we're gonna grab the edge of your sanding block to grab that like clean look on those edges where it's like just a little bit removed right here, okay? And then I'm gonna take that sanding block again, come across that bottom edge so you get the crisp lines, okay? For here, hair is all over the place. I'm gonna take this edge, or just, it's really worn out because it has Dixie mud all over it. So you can use a sanding sponge too, but I like a more abrasive for this. And you're just gonna play with it. You're gonna play with it until you get just this little bit to show, okay? All your wax is still in here. All you're doing is just removing it from that top part. And I'm basically turning it in so it's sanding the edge. I'm not sanding it. I'm just hitting the edges of when I'm distressing. And then again, I'm just gonna turn it. I just want the edge part. Okay, and now I'm gonna hit wherever it naturally would rub. So this is a little dull. So this is where you would wanna come in and put your sanding block with your sandpaper around it, and very lightly. Like erasing the paint, okay? I'm gonna come in. I'm gonna do the same thing right here. Drawing a line down. And that's it, okay? And now, I'm gonna move you back just a little bit. Now we're gonna do the drawer, okay? I'm going to grab my handy dandy pencil, paintbrush. All right, and then I like to do, so here's the thing. A lot of these drawers will rub right here because you're adding paint to this piece, so it will rub. If you don't feel like taking the drawer out and sanding the snot out of it to make sure that it all is smoothly and perfectly, you can distress it. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna take your little, and you're just gonna, this is very abrasive. If I didn't want it to be that abrasive, you could use your sanding block and just kinda, this is the goodness. You want it to be all like, it looks natural. It doesn't look like I just sanded it, okay? So we're gonna come back again. So that way, if it does happen to rub again, it's okay. So distressing shows how to hide a lot of those mistakes that are on furniture, and it adds some character. Now for my corners, that's it. Just a little, not a lot, just a little, okay? And then you could come and take this. You can't see, that's my face. Sorry, guys. I got you guys so close. So I'm gonna take this and then just very lightly. Okay, you probably could distress this before you added all this wax. It's not a big deal. I'll show you how to fix that in a second because I am sanding that off. Okay. All right, now I want to hit right here. Okay. And then under, wherever it would rub on anything. Not a lot, just very little, just subtle. You want it to be subtle. I'm not a big fan of the heavy. It's nothing wrong with that if that's your thing. I don't really care for that. Plus, it's a lot of work on your hands. I don't really like to distress because it tears your hands up. So now, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna grab my bell brush, and I am going to grab a rag, and I'm just gonna touch up those areas that I erased, okay? Nothing crazy, we're just touching it up. Just to add back what I took off. Like I said, nothing crazy. Okay, ta-da! And then I could add satin clear coat to this later. I probably will wait 24 hours just so the wax can dry properly. so I don't have to worry about that moving anywhere. Okay? And then again, just adding it back. Nothing crazy. Lots of layers. It takes a while. Back and forth until you figure out how to do it the way you want it. There's a lot of back and forth between all of that. So hopefully that answered some questions on that. Now, I'm going to pop you guys up and we're going to wax the top of this piece of furniture. I stained the top of this yesterday with no paint gel stain in walnut. All right, we're going to close this. Move my water. Hopefully you guys will be able to see me. Okay. All right, now I have you guys in frame. Right, yes, okay. So now I'm gonna take the applicator pad. They come in 2 packs. I'm just gonna take one out. And I have my clear wax. It looks white, it goes on white, dries clear. It's the best way I can describe it. It doesn't really have an odor. It's water-based wax, okay? I do like to wear gloves because I stick my whole hands in everything. You don't have to wear gloves. I just do. Okay? All right. And plus, now I can go back and do all the other stuff too, if I want to. So I'm just gonna take this pad. I'm just gonna wipe it off. Anything on here. There's not anything on it. I'm gonna I fold it like this in half, okay? And let me move you guys. I can't move closer, it's annoying. All right, I'm gonna lean forward. Okay, so here's my wax, here's my applicator pad. We're just gonna grab a good bit of that. All right, and then I'm just going to do circles to get it on. You don't have to do circles, you can do whatever you want. You wanna fill the crevices, so I circle it in because I feel like that really gets in the grain, and then I rub back and forth to make sure that it's really in the grain. And you'll be able to see it. It turns, here, let me bring it in. Hopefully you guys can see that right there. I can't see. Okay, so this right here, you can see how it's white in there, that dries clear. But that's what I'm looking for. I want it to look like that to make sure that it's actually getting in that grain of the wood and sealing it. So that way I don't have to worry about it. It will be water repellent and things like that. So we circle it in. Grinding it in the wood grain is basically what I'm doing. You just want to kind of scrub it in there. You can overlap it. You can overlap it if you want. It doesn't matter. You can do it back and forth, however you want to do it. As long as when you're done, you just kind of want to buff it in. That's why I like these pads, because I'm applying it and buffing it at the same time. Makes my life a lot easier. Less steps. I'm a less step kind of girl. All right? So that's the top, and it's very smooth. It's a very pretty finish. Okay, we're gonna take that wax again, circling it in. A little goes a long way. I don't want to use this on what I just used because it's going to remove the color, okay? It's going to remove that gray wax, remember. If I have a spot where I don't want the wax on there, use clear wax, it'll come right off. Okay, once it starts doing this, don't worry, flip your sponge over. This means there's a lot of product in that area. And then that will remove it, it'll smooth it in, and it's nice and evenly distributed to that part. You can also flip your sponge over. And it's a good arm workout. Again, you see how it's like, there's a lot of product on here, so it's starting to do that. Don't sit here. You could sit here and scrub it all day long if you want to. Really get it in there. Or just flip your sponge over. And then it'll evenly distribute it where there's less product on there. And it kind of like buffs it in. So you're buffing your piece of furniture, that's why I wear gloves, as you're applying it. And that's it, I'm done. That's all I have to do. And it's ready to sell once I get everything on top, but the top is done. That's all I'll do to the top. If I see that I've missed a spot, I try to catch that now. You can tilt your head and look, and you'll be able to see nice, long, even strokes, just like when you're painting. You want to make sure that there's not some crazy swirl. And that's all I do to that. Waxing's easy. Here's your clear wax, my sponge. You can wash these, since this is a water-based product. You can wash your sponges and reuse them. So there's that. You just run them under hot water, soap and water, maybe some Dawn or whatever you want to use, and then just squeeze it out really good and let it dry, and it'll be able to be reused. As long as you're using the water-based products on them, you can use them. Not with the stain. When I'm using the oil-based stain, I will take my, I'm sure you've seen me, I take it like this, and then I grab my glove, and then I twist it, and then I grab my glove again, and that way I'm not touching anything and my hands are still clean, and then this is ready to go in the trash can. So that's how I handle that. So hopefully today's information session was very helpful for those that want to know. Okay, and so as you can see, the other one is lightly distressed and it has wax. That one behind it is ready to go for sale. I just brought the large dresser up to my booth. I still have the tall dresser to do. I feel like after this, I'm not going to do anything for a while. But it is a beautiful set of furniture. It's really pretty. The hardware on it, I put one of them on backwards over there, so I have to finish that, but it's really pretty. It has these it's very French Provençal looking. Like this is, I wouldn't really consider this a French Provençal set, but it kind of has that look to it. So I'm not doing anything to the hardware. The hardware was in great condition. All I did was clean it with soap and water, and that's all I needed to do. And it was good to go. It's Bassett. It's good-ish furniture. It's very heavy. So anyways, well, my loves, this piece is going to be done. Next week we'll be painting the vanity. My client will have the colors picked out for that, and we'll be ready to go on the next fun project. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Dixie Belle, thank you for having me. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will catch you soon. All right, bye guys.